Good morning and welcome to The Point with Mick Rich. We got a lot to cover this week, and I want to share with you some of my thoughts at what's been going on, and a lot's been going on. You know, the election is over, but people are wondering, is it over? And the answer is no, it's not over. Our democracy has been going on for over 200 years. One of the things that I witnessed in this election, we all did, was the passion on both sides of people, on both sides of the party, both sides of the aisle. What we're seeing today, here it is on the 7th of January, is that President Trump is finishing his term just like he started, with Democrats in the House calling for his removal. Whether they're justified or not, that's not what I'm here about. But we're going to be talking about, how did we get here? Where do we go from here? What's the future look like? Now, I've been around a while, and my wife hates me to say that, but I've been around a while. And I remember in 1974, I can remember finishing up work with my buddy, who turned out to be my boss and then my business partner, and we were sitting in a bar in Oakland, California, having a beer after work, and the news hit that the president had been pardoned by then President Ford. We talked, it was about the resignation of the president and all of that going on. And I can remember thinking, was it right, not right, of pardoning President Trump or President Nixon? But when we go back and look at it, it allowed the country to move on, in which it did. In 2000, we had hanging chads. Do you remember? We all remember that. Remember the voting going back and forth, the counting in Florida, going before the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruling, President at that time, George W., was called the president and won the election. And what did we hear from that point on? He's not my president. And I'll tell you what, when people start saying, he's not my president, that sets a precedent, and it did. And that was a rallying cry for Democrats. He's not my president. It's a mess. And I can remember that when President Bush was in office, and I remember this, he got into office, and his staff showed up at the White House, and they couldn't work for a couple days. Why? Because all the W's were removed from the keyboards on all the computers. They had to replace every keyboard. And we actually didn't read about it for months. Why? Because President Bush said, we're not going to make a big deal out of this. Do you remember that at the end of the Clinton administration, William Holder presented to President Clinton the pardon of Mark Rich? I remember there was questions on money being handed back and forth. Mark Rich, and I also want to make it very clear, he's not a relative, okay? He's not a relative, but Mark Rich was out of the country. He didn't even come back to the country, didn't serve any time, didn't admit guilt, but he paid enough money in different entities, and William Holder presented the case to pardon Mark Rich. And there was a call out there and saying, we should investigate. And what did President Bush do? He said, let it go. We're going to move on. It's not good for the country. Let's move on. And that to me was huge. And we just don't see that today. So here it is, 2008. At the end of Bush's term, his goal was the smoothest transition ever. And it was. President Obama was elected, and the cries began. He's not my president. He wasn't born here. Do you remember that? Who led the charge in that? Well, it's our current president, Donald Trump. What did he put up? I think it was, what, $1 million that he put up and said, if President Obama will publish and make public his birth certificate. And I believe he did. I can't remember if Donald Trump at the time did commit and pay contribute $1 million to a charity. I can't remember whether that happened or not. But again, it was, he's not my president. And people were saying, how can anybody say the president isn't my president? Well, real clear, because it happened 8 years earlier. People remember these things, saying, well, if you're not going to recognize my guy, I'm not going to recognize your guy. And this oscillation keeps getting farther and farther apart. For those of you that ever heard of, it's a bridge, Tacoma Narrows up in Washington. It's called, for engineers, and I'm a civil engineer, and it's called Galloping Gertie. And it's a suspension bridge. And it started to oscillate in the wind. And as the wind gusts picked up, the bridge started swaying even more and more. And eventually that bridge it just came down because of the oscillations. Now, the good news is that there was no loss of human life. There was one dog killed, but take a look at it. This is what's happening, and this is what started in 2000 and 2008, is this oscillation that's happening. And it's getting wilder and wilder. The gusts are getting greater and greater. And it's going to be up to us to tamper this down. So what they've done for bridges is they've not, one, analyzed bridges to make sure that those oscillations don't happen, but they have dampers to put in it to deal with those wind gusts. Now, we're not talking about wind gusts here in the political arena. What we're talking about is the gusts of people. Also, for those that don't know, that one of the things that happened too is that when soldiers cross bridges, especially suspension bridges, they no longer walk in formation. They break formation. Why? Because the oscillation. And that's what our country's seeing right now. It's that oscillation back and forth. And it's up to us to make that change. So I want to talk about 2016, because that to me is huge. How did we get to where we're at in 2020? Really, it started in 2016 during the election. Remember how ugly it got during the election? It was awful. Became very personal. And we need to remember that. And our country has faced these times. If we think back on it, what happens when those oscillations get so great? It's a civil war. We understand 700,000 Americans lost their lives in the Civil War. Can that happen again? If we allowed the oscillations to continue to increase, then yeah. If you've never walked through the battlefield of Gettysburg, that's the most humbling experience that I've ever had, to understand what is at risk, how patriotic people are, how passionate people are about our country. I think it's great that people were passionate about this past election, because it's bothered me to see less and less people vote. We need to get back to that, of the passion of people voting. So in the next segment, we're going to be talking about 2016. What happened in 2016? Why do we have the troubles we have in 2020? That's what it's about. So we're going to wrap this segment up. And again, just remember that President Trump's presidency is ending just the way it started, with Democrats on the Capitol Hill calling for his removal. I'm Mick Rich. Appreciate you guys tuning in this morning, this early this morning on a Friday. Thank you very much.
Middle of the field in some room, a move at the 20 and all the way. Touchdown.
Cleveland tonight sputtered at times, but neat. When they got it going, just like right there. To the 5, touchdown Cleveland. Down in 10 here. Play action, looking, throws it out deep, has a man out there, ball is caught. To the 10, to the house, and just like that, the Cleveland Storm answer.
Away. Johnson, and now it's sent back post, and that is dangerous. It's by everyone, and then it's headed in. And so a missed clearance.
They're going to give it. There goes Thompson trying to turn the corner and does. Thompson at the 15, 10, 5. Waiting for the call. Touchdown, Mayfield Trojans. Robertson will push it to Hobart on the far side. Tipped over the double block. Pancaked off the floor beautifully by Gonzalez-Sanchez, and we're still going. Here's Hobart. She'll go over the double block. Lucero. Jones will send it. Tough set. Lucero has to get it over. Robertson. She'll push it over the block. Save. The left-handed save there by Lucero. Here's Jones. She'll have a swing. Yes. McIntosh. Excuse me, at the front.
Stepping up in the pocket and moving, and now to the 5 and diving towards the end zone and in.
Oh man, this beat is crazy.
Hobart. Jones. She'll set Mack for the championship. Yes! 5 in a row. La Cueva is the city's best yet again.
Maybe not getting the reps he needed at quarterback. Wide open guy.
There's a big move by Rodriguez. Look out as he's down the sideline. A
Bravo.
cut, shot out of a cannon. Ivan Rodriguez, he's got all the speed. Can he break away inside the 10 to
And
the
he's
5
gonna make
and in? Touchdown.
Drive, Jefferson Beata, JJ Buck, Micah, Josh produces for you today over on the Proview Network side, where you can watch the show worldwide on ProviewNetworks.com or statewide on Comcast Channel 26.
Hey, welcome to the Steve Davis Show.
Good morning. Welcome to Sports Desk Live on Comcast Channel 26.
Welcome to The Point with Mick Rich.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 10, America Talking Out.
I'm Pastor Flora Padilla of Mending Broken Hearts.
Welcome to Henry T. Game Face Live, Comcast 26, and Big Bad Proview Network.
Often imitated, never
Duplicated. Welcome to Local Focus with Sebastian Noel.
Welcome, sports fans. It's that time of the week again. You are watching the Weekly Rundown.
Hey, welcome to Red Menace TV here on Proview Network.
Hello, I'm Steve Davis. You are watching Public Access TV.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Welcome back, and want to talk about 2016. We talked about, in the last segment, about President Bush's transition at the end of 2018. He made it very clear to his team that it was going to be the smoothest transition ever of any presidency, and from what I could gather, it was. But 2016 election was a whole different ballgame. It was painful, it was personal, it got ugly on a very personal level. But let's talk about the transition from the Obama administration to the Trump administration. And again, it's about a transition. If we think about it is, remember the Steele dossier? That was a political opposition research paper. And that went from a political research paper into an intelligence document. Tell you what, that is not what it was ever intended for, but that's not what our national intelligence is about, is taking political papers and building a case on it. Also, that transition included intelligence surveillance of foreign actors. And that transition ended up going into surveillance of Americans. And then if we look back on it too, intelligence reports was no American. So on those surveillance reports, they have a transcript. They've got who the foreigner is, who that foreign actor is. They've got that individual's name. And then on the American, it's blocked out. Well, for specific reasons, different administrators high up in the executive office can ask for those names to be unmasked so they know who it is. And different people in the Obama administration asked for different individuals to be unmasked. Then part of that transition team is then they published those transcripts. And I'm not saying when we talk about publishing, it's not like putting it in the newspaper, they give it to their buddies. And it's a mess. And that's what happened. And that's what went on. Standard interviews, the administration officials' transcripts. You know, so the FBI comes in, and General Flint was a prime example. FBI comes in, they interview him, they say, we just want to chat. You know, obviously, for a general, he was naive. I think very highly of General Flint. I think he was a patriot for our country. I think he served our country well. But he has never been on the receiving end of when the country comes after, when a government comes after you. I have to say, it's not much fun. It gets ugly, and you know right away I know right away what's going on because I've been there. I've seen it happen. But here he was. He was naive enough to think that the FBI was just coming in to interview him. The idea was this was the first step to making sure that people understood that if you join the Trump administration, you're going to be a target. Not only was General Flynn a target, but his son was a target. And that to me is just unconscionable. But that's the way it's played sometimes. And that's what happened. That's what this transition was about. It went from campaign rhetoric of 16 to 2017 to the start of impeachment of President Trump. And that has gone on, and it's continuing to go on. And one of the things that just amazed me, and I do this in my own business, is I will write a memo to file. And if you've never done that, well, then you're fortunate. But in my business, I have to do that on occasions. We do work for the government, and there are times when I know something has happened, and I say, I need to write a memo to file. And I've learned that. I've worked with government entities for almost over 40 years. And I've learned there's memos to file. What happened? Document conversations. Well, lo and behold, here it was. Susan Rice writes a memo to file. And it is President Obama has made it clear to the intelligence community and law enforcement community that it's everything by the book. That tells me when you write that down there and you go, by the book, it means a lot of stuff is going on not by the book. And this is what happened in the transition of 2016. That laid the groundwork for impeachment. That laid the groundwork for administrators in the executive branch to fully understand that if you sign on with the Trump administration, you're a target. You and your children are a target. We saw it. We saw it with, God, what's the gentleman's name down in Florida? Stone. God, they came after him, right? God, what's he, 70s, 80s, 70s? And they blew in with the SWAT team. There his wife is partially blind, and there she is in her nightgown. And a CNN film crew at the front door watching, filming all of this to take place. This is what went on. This is why we're looking at what happened. And again, I'm not saying that what happened on the 6th is okay. It's not. But it's these oscillations, what we talk about physics, is that oscillation of the galloping Gertie, and take a moment to go on YouTube and type in and do a search, galloping Gertie, to see what a suspension bridge can happen with just wind gusts. But this is what we have. When we hear about the winds of war, this is the gusts of our political arena. What's happening in Washington, in state capitals across our country. This is what's happening. It is the gusts that we've got to deal with. We have to acknowledge what's happening. In my business, I've learned over the years that when an employee is adamant that he wasn't treated right, or a subcontractor that felt that he wasn't being treated fairly, or a client that felt that we weren't doing the right job for him, then all of a sudden I stop what I'm doing, I back up, and I look at it and I said, if they are this adamant about it, then I need to acknowledge what's my responsibility here, because obviously I'm not seeing it. And this is what's happening in our country today. The fact is that one side and the other is not listening to the other. They're only talking to one another. They're not listening. They're not paying attention. This is what our country's about, is hearing the minority. And what's happened in Washington, and it's just happened recently with the Speaker of the House, Pelosi, has changed the rules to freeze out the minority. This only feeds to that oscillation. The rules that were changed by Harry Reid over how we approve our pass through our judges only fed to the oscillation that's happening. And remember to go back and read the Gettysburg Address, to look at the battlefield of Gettysburg, to get that true feeling of what happens when we as a country allow the oscillations, the gusts, to keep getting stronger and stronger until it finally snaps and breaks apart. It's awful to see. I still remember looking across the battlefield of Gettysburg, realizing that 60,000 men died those 3 days. That when the Southern general came back across the field, and General Lee turned to him and said, "Assemble your men. Assemble your troops." And he said, "General, I have no troops. I have no men to assemble." This is what can happen in our country if we don't deal with the oscillations that are happening right now in Washington and in our capitals, right here in Santa Fe as well. I'm Mick Rich, and we're going to talk about 2021. Thank you very much.
They haven't gone back to more. Racknell's still in there. Throwing on the post pattern. Caught. Down. What a catch at the 25-yard line. That's just a great catch by number 1, Drake Owen.
Single running back. And West does get the ball, and he has wide open lane. Let's see if he can make it. He punches it in. Did they get it? Yes! Touchdown, Ben West. Franco hands the ball off. Nice hold for a nice run. He breaks one, breaks two. Touchdown!
Second down. Smith. Plenty of time. A little pump fake. Fires in. He's going for Connor O'Toole to the end zone.
Fowler the play fake, throws it out to Colson on the screen. Colson breaks a tackle. 20, he might be going to the house. Touchdown Mustangs.
Third down and 16. Redford gonna throw it, throws it out. The receiver slipped. The ball is picked, and back to the north side we go. And this could go all the way back for a touchdown and into the end zone.
Set far side for Bell. She couldn't put it away. Sharp over the block. Salas. Ray. Hit over by Cheshire. Sharp again through the block. They're going to set Bell on the far side. Gonzalez Sanchez digs it out. Jones will push it to Sharp. That's been her spot, but they're scrambling and still alive. Now it's going to come over. Salas gets it there. Jones. Gonzalez Sanchez, Sharp will have another swing. Just barely able to get back over. Great defense for Pius. They'll try Wallace on the other side. Yes!
Play fake. Throws. Oh, what a catch by Reggie Colson. Boy, he got whacked and still came down with it.
Handoff goes right side. breaking some tackles and more. Off to the races. Still on his feet into the end zone. What a
middle of the field. One of the most impressive things you will ever see.
Here's a quick slant, and look at the speed by Altier. Can anybody catch him? A foot race. Altier. What an answer.
Drive, Jeff Symbieta, JJ Buck, Micah. Josh produces for you today over on the Proview Network side, where you can watch the show worldwide on ProviewNetworks.com or statewide on Comcast Channel 26.
Hey, welcome to the Steve Davis Show.
Good morning. Welcome to Sports Desk Live on Comcast Channel 26.
Welcome to The Point with Mick Rich.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 10, America Talking Out.
I'm Pastor Flora Padilla of Mending Broken Hearts.
Welcome to Henry T. Game Face Live, Comcast 26, and Big Bad Proview Network.
Often imitated, never duplicated. Welcome to Local Focus with Sebastian Noel.
Welcome, sports fans. It's that time of the week again. You are watching the Weekly Rundown.
Hey, welcome to Red Menace TV here on Proview Network.
Hello, I'm Steve Davis. You are watching Public Access TV.
Welcome back to The Point with Mick Rich. We've been talking about starting with the pardon of President Nixon, talking about the 2016 election and transition, but I want to talk about 2020, which I think is interesting. Is 2020 was the Chinese year of the rat. I mean, that couldn't be more appropriate. It smells like a rat. 2020 was just awful for the world and the country. And I want to talk about it, the year of the rat. So here we have Attorney General Barr has his investigation. He's got Durham out there doing an investigation of what happened in 2016 and all this the U.S. government surveillance of the Trump administration. And that is a journey that went nowhere and became clear to conservatives that it was going nowhere. It was clear that high tech and social media silences Chinese dissidents in China and silences American conservatives right here in our country. In big media, Chinese reporters are going to prison reporting on what happened in Wuhan, while our reporters are going to Starbucks to get lattes and having a good time and hanging out and chatting with one another. The Chinese wet market, it's a transition. What we heard was the COVID-19 virus came out of the Chinese wet market. And if you don't know what a wet market is where they have live animals. And then you buy live animals. So you have live animals in close proximity to human beings. And this is when a lot of times viruses can jump from animal to human beings. And that transition went from a wet market to a Chinese government biological laboratory to the world. Chinese took down close to 2 million across the globe, took down 360,000 Americans, and they've taken down one U.S. president. And I'm thinking, does the Chinese government, the communists in China, think, was it worth it to take out an American president at the expense of millions? Then we look at, and then for those of you, I like to watch crazy movies. And for those of you, I don't know if you've ever watched the movie Big Trouble in Little China with Kurt Russell. He had an 18-wheeler. It was crazy movie. It's a fun movie if you don't have anything to do. But it really appears to me that what we've got is the sequel, is Big Trouble in Big China. And I just wonder, is Kurt Russell going to do this instead of an 18-wheeler? Is he going to have a walker and an oxygen bottle? Tell you what, that's what we're facing. Record turnout. People were excited on both sides. They were passionate on both sides. We had, tell you what, there wasn't one hint of voter suppression. And Democrats are thinking, God, we succeeded. And they're right, they succeeded. But conservatives, Republicans on the other side are saying, well, there's plenty of hints for voters, for votes that should have never have been counted. Did human beings actually vote? Did uneligible voters vote? Those are the questions that people are asking. And people aren't getting an answer. And when we talk about the oscillation that's going on, this is what's driving it. We have Democrats saying we're not going to look at it. We have courts saying we're not looking at it. In all of these things, or we have looked at it, but we haven't. We have people that are supposed to be able to be there, Republicans and Democrats, to count the votes together to make sure that it's fair and honest. After all, Jimmy Carter goes overseas to make sure that elections are held fairly. And one of the things that they do is to make sure that they have representatives from all facets, all parties, there overseeing the counting of votes. And what are we hearing? In some Democratic areas, they're telling the Republicans, hey, you can go home, we're done counting for the day. And meanwhile, then the conservatives, Republicans leave and the Democrats come back in and start counting. These are the things that create the oscillation when we talk about not our president. This is what's starting. This has got to be turned around. We cannot allow this to go on anymore. So, where do we go from here? And what we talked about was, is it over? Is it over? People are asking, is it over? You know, four people were killed in Washington yesterday, on the 6th. 4 people were shot and killed. The mayor is out there in Washington, D.C., outraged of the riots, the protests in Washington. Outraged. And guess what? I am too. I'm outraged about it. But at the same time, I'm outraged that when Senator Rand Paul was attacked in Washington, the mayor of Washington didn't do a thing. This is what creates that oscillation. This is what can bring down our country. And we need to make sure that we don't allow this to happen. So where do we move from here? Here it is. 2020 was the year of the rat. Well, tell you what, 2021, I think it's the American year of the not the chump. Tell you what, not the chump. Number one, special prosecutor moves forward. We're going to have the sequel to All the President's Men, which is going to be, the sequel will be All the President's Men and Women. If we think about it, President Ford pardoned President Nixon. I think President Trump, before he leaves office, needs to pardon President Obama for anything that happened on surveillance of his administration. We need to put it behind us. We need to make sure that we have equal justice for all Americans. I don't care whether you're whatever your color is, what your ethnicity is, what your religion is, what your sex is. It's freedom for all, justice for all. Then last, we need to have voter integrity. In Iraq, people vote. And when they vote, they stick their finger in what? Purple ink? We need to go back to do that. Voting goes for 5 days, and you put your finger in an inkwell. I hate to see it, but that's what it's going to take. Then it becomes very clear to everybody, if you voted and you shouldn't have, you got ink on your finger, and you get prosecuted. Because we need to get back to voter integrity, so when we finish an election, people say, that's my president, whether they agree with them or not. That's how we get rid of the oscillation. That's how our bridge doesn't come down. That's how we don't have another civil war. We live in the greatest country of the world, and I'm grateful to call myself an American. Thank you.
You want to see running. He's on pace for 1,400 yards this season, and there's some of those yards right there, right up the middle, and he's looking at an easy run, one man to beat, beats him for the touchdown. 45-yard touchdown by Ortiz.
First down and goal from the 10. Play action and a fade to the end zone. Well, there he is.
Block punt. Let's see if the Mustangs can scoop and score. Scoop and score the touchdown with Western New Mexico. Number 20, CJ Bionis. Bauer the play fake. Throwing to Colson in the end zone.
Touchdown.
Touchdown.
The hot man, and why not? Looking hot, looking into the end zone, and his second touchdown already.
Post headed in, and that's 2-0. And I think it's Johnson, and it is. So third down and goal, and it's a keeper for Smith. He broke a tackle, and he's into the end.
Holy fumble. Hit by Calhoun. Ball is fumbled.
Head is one, look out, Garcia's loose. Garcia to goal for the lead, 1-0.
Go play action, rolling out to the right. Now he's going to run with it and break some tackles. Lowers his head into the end zone. What a run by Isaiah Chavez. Wow.
Drive, Jeff Symbieta, JJ Buck, Micah. Josh produces for you today over on the Proview Network side, where you can watch the show worldwide on ProviewNetworks.com or statewide at Comcast Channel 26.
Hey, welcome to the Steve Davis Show.
Good morning and welcome to the Sports Desk live on Comcast Channel 26.
Welcome to The Point with Mick Rich.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 10, America Talking Out.
I'm Pastor Flora Padilla of Mending Broken Hearts.
Welcome to Henry T. Game Face Live, Comcast 26, and Big Bad Proview Network.
Often imitated, never duplicated. Welcome to Local Focus with Sebastian Noel.
Welcome, sports fans. It's that time of the week again. You're watching the Weekly Rundown.
Hey, welcome to Red Menace TV here on Proview Network.
Hello, I'm Steve Davis. You You're watching Public Access TV.
Welcome back to The Point with Mick Rich. We've been talking about national issues, what's been going on. How did we get here? And how do we move on? And is it over? And it's not over, thank God. So I want to bring it closer to home. And I wrote up a letter to the editor, and it calls From the Bottom 10 to the Top 10 in 10 Years. I'm a firm believer that we need our elected officials not to point fingers at you or me or anybody else. We need our elected officials to bring people together, to solve the challenges, and to make our state the greatest state in the country. As I traveled the state when I was running for office, and I talked about it, I said, man, we're at the bottom of the list. I said, look at Utah. They spend substantially less than we do per student. And their students are excelling where ours aren't. I was told, Mick, that's the culture of our state. That's not the culture of our state. That's what we've come to accept. I never accepted my wife and I held our 4 kids to a high standard. But I also want to make it very clear that we let our kids know no matter what, we loved them. And that's what we need to do at our state level. We need our elected officials in Santa Fe to start off with and say, we're going to take our state from the bottom 10 to the top 10 in 10 years. Now, the first item that I said, why is it important that we deal with ranking? Ranking is important because our elected officials are gaming the system. We see it across the board in education. I remember struggling to get, I'm embarrassed to say, but I struggled to get some C's in college. Calculus, linear algebra, differential equations. I was grateful to get my C. Electrical fundamentals, I was grateful to get my C. Some other courses, I earned my A. I earned my B. And I deserved those grades. And I got through college. But we're seeing that in college, the grades are getting skewed, the standards and the rankings are getting skewed. How to get a PhD is getting skewed. All of these things. So we, need to make sure that we look at our state and come up with mile markers. And I call this mile markers. When you're driving down the highway, I drive down the highway, you go along and you see a mile marker. If you get in a car accident in the middle of nowhere, the first thing they're going to ask you, where are you? You're going to say, I'm on highway 285, 385, and I'm between mile marker, X and Y. Well, the ranking's the same way. These are mile markers for our state. But these are mile markers not established by our elected officials. These are mile markers established by entities outside our state that rank our state on. Are we creating good, plentiful, good paying jobs? Are our communities safe? Is our educational system successful? Are our students graduating with the ability to be successful in the future? Here's the part that amazes me in education. K through 12 is a failure in our state. And what are we doing? Instead of focusing on K through 12, we're focusing on pre-K. Let's fix K through 12 first. And what we're doing, we've spent money, we have thrown money at the problem. We're spending more money, substantially more money than Utah, with miserable results. Our crime rate. Can you imagine that El Paso is in the top safest in the country in Albuquerque is the 10 most dangerous communities. Believe it or not, if you don't know this, I'm going to share with you. The Special Forces Medical Corps come to Albuquerque to train in our ERs because we are close to a military hospital in treating gunshot wounds, stab wounds, and just violent injuries. This is the record that our state has. And what's our elected officials looking at? We're going to pass legalized recreational marijuana. How does that help our state create plentiful, good-paying jobs? How does that help educating our young people? It doesn't. Our elected officials are trying to explain to us how precious the table scraps that we are fighting over are. And I want you to know that that's unacceptable to me. You deserve it, I deserve it, for our state to be at the top. So our kids choose to live here, not choose to live somewhere else or stuck here because they can't go anywhere else. That's what we're facing. This is the great, I love New Mexico. I love our state. God, the blue skies, the open spaces, to be able to go up into the foothills of Albuquerque or go to Chaco Canyon or other places around our state, go to Santa Fe and look at the art in Santa Fe. God, what a great state we have. We are a creative state, more so than anywhere else in the country. And we're not taking advantage of any of those things. Our elected officials are focused on the things that make no difference. They're spending money that makes no difference. Our last governor bragged that when she left office, how much money she had in the bank account. Our bank account. Does that make a difference? Does that help our students? Does that make our streets safer? Does that make our roads safer? No. Tell you what, this isn't a matter of Republican or Democrat or conservative or liberal. This is a matter of picking our state out of the dust and dirt and sand and to get our state and all of us flying again. I'm excited about our state, what our future lies. Our challenges that we have are all solvable. But our elected officials aren't solving our challenges. They're contributing to it. They're placating us. They're letting us know, hey, you can't do any better than awful. You don't deserve anything better. This is who we are. Guess what? We're not. I believe that every one of us has a chance to succeed, however we define success. That's what I've done. And when we were raising our kids, we talked to our kids and I said, look, I want you to be successful. If that means a college degree, so be it. If it means going in a construction trade, and my son and I had this conversation. He like his, well, a little bit, not quite like his dad, but my son was challenged in college. And he and I sat down. I said, look, college isn't for everybody. Go into the construction trades. Pick up a trade. He ended up getting a college degree and now running our company. But these are the things that every one of us has a chance to succeed. I have given people in my company opportunities that they didn't receive anywhere else. People that came in that said, I can't succeed in other companies. And they came into our company and they did. Everyone that's come into our company has left our company in better shape than when they arrived. That's what our elected officials should be looking at. Is that when they leave office, you're in better shape than when they came into office. And our elected officials aren't doing that. Our elected officials are saying, I got more money in the bank, or we passed medical marijuana, or we're passing legalized marijuana. They're trying to make you feel comfortable of being down in the mud. Tell you what, you shouldn't feel good in the mud. You should be good flying with the eagles. And we can do it. You can do it. I have faith in you. So don't let anybody put you down. We can succeed as a state, but we need to hold our elected officials accountable. I'm Mick Rich, and this is To the Point. Thank you.
They haven't gone back to more. Racknell is still in there. Throwing on the post pattern. Caught. Down. What a catch at the 25-yard line. That's just a great catch by number 1, Drake Owen.
Single running back. And West does get the ball, and he has wide open lane. Let's see if he can make it. He punches it in. Did they get it? Yes! Touchdown, Ben West. Franco hands the ball off. Nice hold for a nice run. He breaks one, breaks two. Touchdown!
Second down. Smith. Plenty of time. A little pump fake. Fires in. He's going for Connor O'Toole to the end zone.
Fowler the play fake, throws it out to Colson on the screen. Colson breaks the tackle. 20, you might be going to the house. Touchdown Mustangs.
Third down and 16. Redford going to throw it, throws it out. The receiver slipped. The ball is picked, and back to the north side we go. And this could go all the way back for a touchdown and into the end zone.
Set far side of Bell. She couldn't put it away. Sharp over the block. Salas. Ray. Hit over by Cheshire. Sharp again through the block. They're going to set Bell on the far side. Gonzalez Sanchez digs it out. Jones will push it to Sharp. That's been her spot, but they're scrambling and still alive. Now it's going to come over. Salas gets it there. Jones. Gonzalez Sanchez, Sharp will have another swing. Just barely able to get it back over. Great defense for Bias. They'll try Wallace on the other side. Yes!
Play fake. Throws. Oh, what a catch by Reggie Colson. Boy, he got whacked and still came down with it.
Handoff goes right side. Breaking some tackles and more. Off to the races. Still on his feet into the end zone. What a...
Middle of the field. It's one of the most impressive things you will ever see.
Here's a quick slant, and look at the speed by Altier. Can anybody catch him? A foot race. Altier. What an answer.